Welcome to BioLongevity Doc, your podcast for true health, innovation, and a new quality of life for your longevity. I am Dr. Robert Bauder. As a dental all-rounder, I have been working in intensive practice for around 30 years, focusing on prevention, periodontology, implantology, and especially complex aesthetic metal-free full dental restorations. Additionally, I am a specialist in ceramic implants and holistic biological dentistry, as well as a certified sports dentist. With this decades-long background, optimizing overall health and thus longevity is a matter close to my heart. As a passionate amateur athlete and former classical musician, I am always curious about new ways and technologies. As an all-rounder and specialist, I strive to bridge the gap with you from old knowledge to new knowledge. And together we bring the best of all worlds together. Innovation, high-tech, and artificial intelligence are just as much a part of a modern lifestyle for me as proven routines from old knowledge, practical experience, and scientific curiosity, because true health is the foundation for performance, energy, and success, today more than ever. In the BioLongevity Doc Podcast, you get not only concrete tips, but the combination of the latest research results, advanced technologies, and practical routines that fit directly into your everyday life. Our common mission is to use the BioLongevity framework so that health and wealth become tangible for you throughout life, in your career, in sports, and in personal growth. Here, inspiring stories, current studies, honest exchange, and concrete tools await you, bringing you a step further every day. Together with the BioLongevity Alliance and our international Longevity to Go community, we make longevity understandable, innovative, and directly applicable, always with an eye on the opportunities of artificial intelligence and high tech. So subscribe now to the BioLongevity Doc Podcast and start your journey with us toward more energy, success, and true quality of life. On the topic of a healthy oral cavity, there is also another weak point that occurs very frequently, namely the so-called Dentitio Difficileis. It mostly occurs with partially impacted wisdom teeth. This is extremely widespread. Why is this a problem? Because with these partially erupted wisdom teeth, sometimes very nasty inflammations, that is bacteria-caused inflammations, occur in these niches behind the last tooth where the wisdom tooth peeks out a bit. And these are, of course, major sources of infection that can lead not only to a swollen cheek and toothache back there, but also contribute to bacterial contamination of the entire organism. So it is often unavoidable to have wisdom teeth surgically removed. But what do you need to pay special attention to now? From experience, looking back over decades, you have to make sure to pay attention that the micronutrient supply, especially through a good vitamin D level, is truly sufficient. Because during the surgical removal of wisdom teeth, a wound is created in the bone, the gums, and the soft tissue. And this traumatic procedure requires significant healing capacity, not just for bone formation, but also for soft tissue regeneration. And vitamin D, ideally combined with vitamin K2 and magnesium, since they all work together as a trio, is vital for optimal bone healing to occur after a tooth extraction. And typically or statistically very often, wisdom tooth extractions are performed during adolescence or young adulthood. And experience shows that during these stages of life, many people, perhaps due to certain lifestyle or situational factors, don't eat optimally, and as a result, they often have a latent deficiency, particularly in vitamin D, and that leads to bone healing disorders occurring very frequently, and these can years or even decades later result in certain chronic inflammatory foci within these jawbone areas. From a holistic perspective, these can then act as interference fields and factors, and under certain circumstances, they can even contribute to the development of chronic systemic diseases. So it pays off in many ways to ensure that your vitamin D level is maintained at an optimally high level. We typically recommend vitamin D levels of over 50 nanograms per milliliter. I personally aim for a vitamin D level of over 100 nanograms per milliliter, but that's just my personal opinion. But I would aim for over 50 nanograms per milliliter, ideally long-term, as it significantly supports wound healing and especially bone regeneration. Beyond that, the immune system is of course much better positioned, and it offers many other benefits, not just healthier teeth and gums in general, but a better immune system, improved brain function, healthy eyes, healthy skin, and many other things such as healthy blood vessels and so on. That's why vitamin D is such a crucial marker for staying healthy and avoiding long-term complications. When it comes to overall health and long-term longevity, it's absolutely essential to pay attention to these factors, and the good news is that supplementation is actually very affordable for most people. Ideally, of course, we would have a perfect diet and the right sun position, but in reality, it turns out that almost all of us are exposed to the sun far too little while unclothed at the optimal solar angle. Therefore, we have to be realistic that there is actually more of a pandemic of vitamin D deficiency, and that's why it's beneficial to make sure that your vitamin D levels are in the healthy range, especially if, for example, you're about to have a wisdom tooth removed.